whatever you want to do.
All right, here we go.
I typed something up, but it doesn't have.
I'm going to use it. It's fine. Jesse, let me know when you're ready.
We're ready.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to Nintendo Dads episode 169, recorded on today, March 1st, 2018. On tonight's show, we discuss 1 year. It has been 1 year with the Nintendo Switch. Has it been a good year? Right? It has been. I think it has been. Also, where do you think it's going? This plus so much of your feedback and questions on this. Jesse, cue the music. Lovely.
All right, here we go.
You're welcome.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Marty from Nintendo Dads, and we're here for episode 169. It is March 1st, 2018, just 2 days from the Switch's first birthday. And I'm joined tonight by two of the finest of fine gentlemen. Mr. Jesse Waldack, how are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. It's we got the mother-in-law in town visiting for a week, so I warned her, I'll be up late recording, so if you hear people talking at 2 a.m, it's me. Because she's using...
It's not the ghosts that live in the basement, it's right. Just me.
Yeah, not this time. Yeah, she's using the bedroom just on the other side of this wall.
Awesome. And speaking of ghosts in the basement, Mr. Justin Masson is here all the way from Ireland. How's it going?
It's going well, actually. You know what it is, Marty? I am recapping or experiencing what you experienced about 4 weeks ago. Ireland is being hit with the largest snowstorm that it has had in almost a decade.
Really?
And yeah, seriously, and like I'm not even being facetious here.
I think I saw you post something that people are freaking out over there. Yeah,
people really are, because the city there, the whole country is not, it's known for its rain. It's not known for its snow. It doesn't have an infrastructure. But we have been at home since Tuesday night, and kids' school has been canceled for the entire week. And it is, it's crazy. There's a ton of snow here. People don't know how to drive here with it. It's absolutely mad. The entire government is saying, don't be on the road, stay home, stay safe. So we're kind of doing like you did a couple weeks ago, bunkering in. So here it's absolute pandemonium. In Canada, we would call this a Friday.
Right. So do you have to go into work?
No, I get to work from home. So I just
that's nice.
Going back to the old kind of working virtually methodology, which is fine. But I think we have a smaller house. There are 4 of us here, and kid chaos is a little bit maddening. So my wife I can hear them every once in a while saying, "And put your snowshoes on and go outside."
So there's a time of the day when the tension in your voice reaches something's got to happen.
Critical mass. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got it. We were there. There. You will get through this.
Oh yeah.
You will.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of getting through stuff, we've got a lot to get through on our show tonight. The main topic of our show tonight is going to be the Switch and its 1 year anniversary. It has been almost 365 days since we first laid hands on the Nintendo Switch. And along with us, there's been tons of our listeners and tons of our patrons who have come together to give us a first-year retrospective. And so we're going to share a lot of those comments tonight. But before that, let's just get right into it, shall we?
Do it.
News, music.
And today's segment is brought to us by
Patreon.com. Now, Marty, we have so much amazing support from Patreon, and we have to call some new people who are supporting us this week. And like every week, there are people who support us and just so much love. Thank you. We just had a Patreon hangout recently, which is awesome.
It went amazing.
Yeah, we're going to hear that on the feed soon. We just created a Patreon creators community, which we have people who are creating new content for, so it's absolutely amazing. We have so much love from our Patreon community, so thank you so much for that. And I want to call some names here, and that's Scott, Andy, Jordan, and Julian. And Marty, do you know why they're important right now?
Is it because they're new patrons?
That's because they are new patrons. Okay, so thank you so much, Scott, Andy, Jordan, and Julian, for becoming new patrons with Nintendo Dads. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. And welcome to the Nintendo Dads family. Come on in, grab a seat. sit down wherever you want, except for that other spot. That's Eric's spot, but just leave that alone.
Yeah, you don't take Eric's spot. It went really badly for the last person who did that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We had a dead Patreon person for that.
Dead patron. We had to get the mop.
Yeah. You don't want Uncle Jesse to have to get the mop. That's not a good thing.
Disgusting.
So guys, let's just dive right in. In 2 days, actually, 2 days from time of this recording, is the official 1 year anniversary of the launch of the Nintendo Switch. And what Nintendo has accomplished in the last 12 months, I don't think there's any other way that we can say it other than it's been an extraordinary comeback for a company that many in the video game industry, quite frankly, were writing off this time last year. You know, the early reviews of the Switch were even coming in on March 1st and you know, everything last year, and some of them weren't kind. I'm looking at you, IGN, and some others. But, you know, here we sit a year later, and a lot of people have changed their tune and had to eat a lot of crow about the Nintendo Switch. And I would think even some Nintendo faithful would have to say they've had to do that as well. And so what we want to do on tonight's show is we want to celebrate the Nintendo Switch because it is, in a way, Nintendo's rebirth. Nintendo becoming a company that is more modern now, not all the way there yet, and we're going to talk about that, but kind of getting with the times, kind of becoming a modern video game company, spreading its wings a little bit, trying some new things. And so this would be the point, you know, as dads, that we would say, you know, Junior's learning how to walk, you know, and the world is opening up, and it's changing in a lot of ways for Nintendo. And this past year has just been spectacular. And we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk tonight about what Nintendo needs to do next. You know, because there does have to be some follow through here. We don't want the Switch to be a flash in the pan. That Nintendo definitely doesn't want that. And I'm not saying that I think it's going to be, but to follow up a year like they've had is going to be a tremendous task. And with E3 right around the corner, I'm anxious to see what we're going to see. So what we're going to do tonight is just kind of go around the horn and talk about some of these things. Then we're going to share some of our listeners' feedback as well and their experience with the Switch. So what I want to start with is just overall, how has our experience been with Nintendo Switch in the last year? You know, how has it been taking it out? How's it been? Has it changed how you play? Has it changed how you think about video games? Has it drawn you in more? That's the kind of things we're looking for. So Jesse, why don't we start with you? How's your experience with Nintendo Switch been this past year?
Well, I'd say it's been extremely positive. Has, you know, for the questions like, has it changed how I game? Well, to me, really no, because even in the last 2 years of the Wii U life, I played more 3DS than Wii U. So my primary system has been the portable. So this is just the carryover from that. So yeah, as I said like a year ago when we were still in rumor mode, you know, like if all these rumors panned out, this is basically what my dream machine would be. This is kind of what I imagined back in 2011 when they first announced that Nintendo's merging teams. They're, like merging their hardware teams.
So how close to that dream machine vision has the Switch gotten this year?
It was almost dead on. Even back then I imagined a handheld system that I could dock and play on a TV, and it was all these rumors are going around even back then before the Wii U's announcement. So when the Wii U was announced, everything was like, that's weird. It's not what I expected. But for me the Switch is exactly what I was hoping for, and I'm expecting it to continue to be my primary gaming machine for a while.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. What about you, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I think my experience with it has been absolutely tremendous. I was thinking about this a little bit last night. I think I have done more gaming on the Nintendo Switch console than I have done on most any other console I've ever played. I think it's grabbed me very easily. And I think obviously, as mentioned before, the portability of it, right, is so accessible. You know, I travel a lot, and it's one of those things where when I'm like, okay, well, I've got to travel, I've got a 12-hour travel day. Cool, I've got 12 hours on my Switch, which is like, this is awesome. I can just kind of like, it's almost, just stewardess, just drop me off some peanuts and some Coke every once in a while, and just leave me alone. We'll be just fine here. And it's fantastic. It is a device that I think has also, I don't want to say brought the family together, but has been such a placement in our household now, such a staple of like game time, right? Whether it's we're all playing up on the big screen, 4-player game that's really accessible and fun, it's got a great demo, or whether it's on a holiday and we've got a downtime and we all want to play in tabletop mode, or it's integrated and woven its way into our family really accessibly, and I think it's an amazing device. I think it really solves for, we've talked about the 3DS a lot before. We saw some feedback from last week's show about the 3DS as well. But the 3DS was that kind of nice step for portability of great games, and this just takes that to the next level in a way that it's incredible. Like I think it's a masterclass in game hardware development.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that we've seen with that is with the third-party support that people are bringing to the Switch. It seems like a little bit of catch-up if you think about it to other systems, but these are all experiences that Nintendo fans, if you're just a Nintendo fan, haven't been able to have before. Mm-hmm. But to be able to have that next-gen style game on the go has truly been a game changer, for lack of a better term, not to sound cheesy or anything, but the ability to take Zelda on the go and have that huge open world, the ability to take Doom on the go, Skyrim, Wolfenstein 2 that's coming up very soon, the ability to take those next gen games and take them on the go has been huge. And I think that moving forward, what we're going to see is developers, and not to jump the gun about what we think we're going to see, but I guess to do so a little bit, but I think developers thinking a little more out of the box about what the future of gaming looks like. Because, the Switch obviously is not going to have PS4 Pro or Xbox One X level graphics, but can it do what they do and do it well? I mean, arguably the biggest game right now for any system is Fortnite. And that's not taxing to either one of those systems. In fact, the rumor is it's going to come to the Switch, and I hope it does. I really do. Because honestly, everybody that I know that's under 18 is playing that game right now.
And my son's playing it.
And I mean, it's a phenomenon. And I think it's one of those, we're going to look back on it and we're going to see it's a phenomenon like Minecraft. Like I think it has staying power. I don't know that Epic knew what they were making when they made that game, or expected it to get what it is. But I think you're taking that creativity and you're molding it with the competitiveness, and that's a big thing. I know we're kind of getting off topic, but to have games like that come to the Switch, to have games like Doom come to the Switch, did we really believe? When we were sitting in our house with our families a year ago, did we really believe we were going to be playing some of these games that we've played in the last year?
Well, I think that's the interesting thing, right? When you think of literally a year from now, or a year ago, unboxing it, and I think, I don't know about you guys, the first game I played was Zelda, right? That's absolutely that was my day one. Like, there's pictures of we used to have this like big beanbag chair essentially in our basement, which is a gaming room, and it's just I set the Switch up. It was like a Friday at like 10 o'clock. I took the day off of work, plumped myself down, and there's my wife's pictures. Like, this is where my husband will now be for the next weekend. If you require him, come here. But the moment I put it in there and the moment that opening screen opened up, I think much like Link's awakening and opening up is this idea of possibilities, right, of what's going on. And then as you kind of like walk out of that plateau and you begin to see the world that's put in front of you, in a lot of ways very reminiscent of, there's so much here for the Switch to explore, that the possibilities are incredible. Just like if this is where we're starting our bar at, yeah, I'm in. I'm all in. Let's see where this goes, right? And then obviously we have stuff like Doom, and I mean, even not to diverge too far off this, and we'll move on to our next topic here. But even if you think of like last couple of weeks, Faye and Mulaka, great indie party games, fantastic developers, awesome games. Both those games were being launched on all platforms at the exact same day, and Nintendo Switch was on that exact same as well. Right, so remember how it used to be, we'll launch it on the PS4 or PS3, the Xbox, and you'll get this game 6 months later.
Right.
We're seeing now that level setting of it's the exact same day, same day and date conversation, or exclusive by a day. Right, we've seen that for a couple of them as well.
Right.
But like that's when you're back up to kind of the bar of having the conversation with to your point, why isn't Fortnite on some of these systems? Right, we've got Rocket League, we've got Doom. Sure. Freaking we've got Minecraft skins of Banjo-Kazooie and Master Chief on a Nintendo Switch. Yeah, I think anything's possible.
Absolutely. And I think for me, like with this past year, I have played more video games in the past year than I have played in a long time.
Do you think it's a byproduct of being on the show, or do you think it's a byproduct of your passion for it and the Switch itself?
No, I think even if I wasn't on the show, I think I would have played more. And the reason for that, I may not have played as many different titles since we do get, review copies and things, but I still would have played as much because it does make it portable, and it does make it where I can carry Zelda with me, or I can carry Mario Odyssey with me. Sonic Mania is a great example. Sonic Mania, I never played that docked. I played it completely handheld because I was busy around that time, and so I would fit in a couple of levels here and there. It's the perfect machine for role-playing games, and that's one of our patrons said that earlier, and we'll get to that when we talk about it, because you can take it with you and you can put it in suspend mode. You don't have to stop the game. You can turn it off, and it's right there. It's ready for you when you come back. And I think that's been the biggest thing. I mean, I can pick this up and I can take it with me, and it is the system, right? And you can't do that with PlayStation. You can't do that with Xbox. And I mean, I know Jesse would probably wished he could, like when Persona 5 came out. I wish he may have wished he could take, because sometimes you've got to go, right? And you want to keep playing that game, whereas before with the 3DS, and I'm not gonna knock on the 3DS, I'm just gonna say this, but like sometimes before, like if I had a game I was playing on the Wii U and I was really into, or a game on the PlayStation that I was really into, when I had to go somewhere, it was like, well, I can take my 3DS and find something to play, right? But now I can take my Switch and keep playing what I was playing, right?
Like in the Persona 5 example, while I could play it on my Vita if my kid was playing something else on another system, but I still have to be in the house with my good Wi-Fi and the good Ethernet to do it, because if I'm somewhere else with little or no internet, then it'll either be laggy, non-playable, or just can't play because you need internet to do that.
Right.
And for another Sony comparison, with the Vita, they tried the console experience on the go thing before with the Vita, but the problem they had is they put out like Uncharted Light, Uncharted Gimped. They didn't give a full Uncharted game and things like that. So with Nintendo is, this is what you got. There's nothing gimped because you're playing
the game.
It's the game. You're playing it both ways.
Yeah, this is Zelda, right?
Right.
Like there's no Zelda Lite version, or there's no Zelda DS version, or whatever. This is Breath of the Wild. Right. This is what you get.
So that was definitely a strength from the Nintendo
and
side.
I think that I definitely think that's a strength. I think that is. I think that's one of the things that has set the system apart, is because that, the Vita tried for that ahead of time, but this is the first true console experience on the go, right? The full-fledged thing. Like if I go home and I dock this, I'm getting the exact same experience with
You just
it
continue
in
from
the
where you left
dock.
off.
Right. I mean, there's going to be some frame rate and stuff, but I think by and large, Nintendo has knocked it out of the park this past year. I think 14 million people can't be wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you've got a system that is time and time again is charting as it's selling faster than PS4 did this time. It's selling faster than PS2 did this time. It's going to outpace the Wii in this type of thing. The worry that I have with it is where Nintendo goes from here. Yes, I've played more games in the past year than I ever had than I have in the previous 5. Yes, I've been more in touch with Nintendo and what it's doing as a company and what it's where their identity and all that, probably because I'm on the show, but also because I love my Switch and I take it everywhere. I can't tell you, one thing that I would say this in the past year is everybody that I meet that has one of these has become an evangelist for it. Everybody's like, oh man, you got to check out the Switch. And then you start talking about it. It's like, oh, yeah, just go down there and get one. It's $300. It'll change your life and all kinds of stuff like that. That like you become a salesman for Nintendo. Mm-hmm. Simply by carrying it. And I think that's part of the fun of it. It's fun now when I'm out and I'm like, oh man, they got a Switch, and it makes me wish for things like Street Pass and things that, near field communication and stuff like that we could have on the Switch. And we can talk, maybe we get into that a little bit, maybe when we talk about the one thing that hasn't happened yet or the things that haven't happened yet that need to happen. But let's talk about this. Justin, where does Nintendo need to go from here? Because you cannot talk about the Switch without talking about the fact that Nintendo has just blown it out of the water for the last 12 months. Even so much so that I was in GameStop today, and I was I'm buying my son a Switch for his birthday. And so today was payday. His birthday's in a month. I want to go ahead and get it. They had a used one, so I wanted to pick it up. And so I go in, and they're showing footage from the DICE Awards. And we didn't talk about this last week. Do you guys realize how many awards Nintendo won at the DICE Awards?
No,
I haven't followed them.
Almost all of them. They won. They won Game of the Year. They won Best Racing Game. Snipper Clips won for Best Puzzle Game. It was so they had some guy designated to excuse me, to take to do the awards, to get a speech. And at one time he finally gets up and he's like, yeah, it's me. It's the Nintendo guy again. Here, I just pulled it up. I just Googled this. Sorry. Game of the Year, Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild also took home Outstanding Achievement in Game Design, Outstanding Achievement in Game Direction, and Adventure Game of the Year. Meanwhile, other Nintendo titles, Metroid Samus Returns was Handheld Game of the Year, Fire Emblem Heroes was Mobile Game of the Year, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was Racing Game of the Year, Super Mario Odyssey was Outstanding Achievement in Sound Design, and DICE also honored Genyo Takeda with a Lifetime Achievement Award. And he was the guy who helped develop the N64, the GameCube, and the Wii. So
maybe we'll just call the Nintendo Awards.
Other games that won anything that they say are notable is Cuphead and Horizon Zero Dawn and PUBG. Everything else was Nintendo.
So where does Nintendo have to go next year?
Yeah. So where do they go now?
Yeah, and that's a great question, right? So I think we all the first year was absolutely incredible. There's no doubt about that. And this is one of the concerns we talked about. I think Nintendo now in year 2 needs to tidy up some of the loose strings that they've left hanging, and a couple of things that we've talked about before, right? So we've talked about this whole cloud storage, save storage data issue that needs to be solved right away. So I think that's top number one. I think Nintendo needs to really sell us an understanding the online functionality and what's going to be included in that and why it's a value to us. I think because they had mentioned it and then have petered away from it so many times, I think probably refocusing that, I think, is really important. I think they need to spend some time talking about the online functionality in relation to also voice chat and communication with our friends, right? It needs to be easy. And we have a comment about this as well, as I'm pretty sure I saw it, but it needs to be easier for me to just jump into a game and connect with somebody. I think it's 2018, right? Like, we should be able to do this. I think that needs to be there. And I think what Nintendo needs to do is they need to start telling us the story that is 2018, 2019, and 2020. And they began to drop some kind of vision into us, or placeholders. You look at Metroid Prime 4, but what's really on the docket for 2018? That's the big thing I think we continue hearing is, Nintendo hasn't told me what's in the next 6 months, 9 months. And I think there is a little bit of that. We're kind of just looking around the corner and we're like, I don't really know what's around that corner. Right. But we do need a little bit more clarity. And we also need to understand where those big third parties are, right? We hear all these rumors about like Fortnite coming and games like that. So how do we continue to tighten those bolts, I guess you would say, to see what's coming up? Because I think Nintendo's in a fantastic spot, but I do think there's just some loose strings they need to tighten up and go from there.
Yeah. I think as they move forward, to me, here's a couple of key things. Number one, this is the year that Nintendo needs to bring back the E3 stage show.
Oof. This is not an E3 prediction show, but I do not agree with you there.
Okay. You can disagree with me, but I think that I think this is a year they've made such a big splash in the past 12 months. I think this is where they do that, not because an E3 stage show is necessary, but because it communicates a transformation in the company, and it communicates a new direction. And where I think they go with this is that, you bring out Reggie, you bring out whoever, but then you turn it over to some of these young guys who are picking up franchises like Mario and other, Zelda. I mean, it's obvious, Aonuma is doing such a fantastic job with Zelda right now. It's obvious that Miyamoto is never going to be in charge of that again, right?
Yeah.
It's obvious that he is kind of moving on, like he's taking his hands out of Mario more and more. This is where you let some of those new guys step up and shine. And this is also where you come in and you drop every absolutely huge announcement you can in an hour. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you come in with the Fortnite, you come in with stuff like that, like they did last year, like, because I remember watching that E3 presentation and Rocket League came up and I was like, that, like, it just blew my mind that they had done that they were going there.
The thing with Nintendo, though, and especially around E3, is we do have to remember that Nintendo has already created a very clear line of communication with their fans, right, through the directs. And now they're just dropping the directs whenever they want, right, like without even fanfare in some cases. But they've already created that line, so I don't think they see E3 as like the megaton event announcement that most companies do. I think they see it as a larger direct, right, where they do have to spend some more money to play with the rest of the industry, right? But they've already got that line of communication, so I don't know if they need to drop megatons. I mean, I want them to, but I don't know if they have to.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe it's more of just like that's what I want them to do.
Sure.
But here's the deal. Like, if you go back and you look at what Nintendo has done this past year versus what we got after Bird Puppets.
Right.
It's a distinctly notable difference, right? Mm-hmm. So I just like a different direction even for that. Like, I love what they do with the direct. I think it's great, but I just kind of feel like the E3 presentation should be more than a direct. Mm-hmm. Like I don't have time to sit and watch the Treehouse for 2 days after they do that, but they reveal some really cool stuff on the Treehouse, right?
Yeah.
And some surprise stuff this past year.
And it's kind of been a tradition of mine to take that week off of work as a vacation. And, not just, because of the show, but I was doing this even before like 2009, 2010. And then the one year I actually was able to go to E3 was awesome. I hope to be able to do that again, but no, not this year.
Like, I guess, looking back at the past couple of E3s, it's been Zelda as the big, like the big booth thing, and then Mario Odyssey as the big booth thing.
Right.
I just don't really see where they're going to do that this year unless it's Metroid.
Yeah. Well,
and I don't think it's going to be Metroid.
Yeah. And I we talked a little bit about that yesterday, or last week. Like, what is a big booth thing? Like, typically we'd have a bit of insight potentially around that. At this point, we don't have that. I mean, we are 3 months away from E3, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they pop there.
I guess why I bring that up is because, like, in the past with E3, we kind of could see it coming with Zelda, right? And we can kind of see it coming with Odyssey, but there's no clouds on the horizon.
Yeah.
for any game. And so, like, I like, what I really want them to do is to come into E3 and just be like, first party game, huge third party game, blam, and then go to the show floor and here's all this other stuff that we're just flying under the radar that's really cool, right?
Yep. I like it.
But I don't know that we're going to get that. Like it, and that's why, like, we've talked about this already this year, that and my prediction, for 2018 was Nintendo is going to let us down at some point,
right?
Which is kind of vague, but I think mainly it's surrounding E3. Like, can they keep up that momentum? Can they keep up that pace? How do they do that? I think they do that by some solid first-party games that we don't know are coming, like past Donkey Kong and Yoshi. Like, Yoshi is not going to be the game that's going to carry them at E3. Let's just be honest. It's not. As good as Woolly World was, you're not going to carry E3 on Yoshi and Cardboard Land or whatever. So what does it become? Is it Pokemon? Because if it's Pokemon, that's going to be ridiculous.
They normally don't do a lot of Pokemon during E3.
No, but the rumors, were circulating that Pokemon's being localized, or that it's almost done. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I mean, like, look at the big franchises that Nintendo could pull out at E3, and you've got Metroid left. You've got, Star Fox, F-Zero,
Smash.
It's probably going to be Smash. Let's just be honest. It's probably going to be Smash. I don't know if it's going to be Smash Deluxe or Smash 5. I doubt it's going to be Smash 5. But who knows? But they really need to like, that's where they go from here, in my opinion, is like E3 needs to be rock solid. Absolutely rock solid for them to continue the momentum. Can they do that? I don't know. What do you think, Jesse? Where do they go from here?
See, I don't think. Yeah, I think we said before that E3 isn't as big as to Nintendo as it is for the others. So even if they have a meh E3, there's, as long as they have a strong lineup, going into the through the end of the year, I think they'll be fine. One of the strong aspects of this last year is they pretty much had either a first party game or a game they published that almost did once a month. There might have been 1 month they missed, but that has to continue. So obviously, they've used all their big guns. We could see, maybe a Pikmin, because Pikmin 4 apparently has been done for a while, but they're just sitting on it. With the Smash, the Metroid, the Pokemon, that will be Switch. So they've got a number of things that could come out this year, as long as they get third parties, big strong third parties to fill in those gaps, even if they're not Nintendo published, but just a significant game like what was the game you mentioned earlier for that isn't out yet? Not similar to Doom, but
Wolfenstein.
Yeah, Wolfenstein 2, I think will be could be a big game, even though that Nintendo isn't. I don't think Nintendo's publishing that, but it's so as long as they can still keep releases on a consistent level, I think year 2 will be just as good as the first year, even though they don't have their two big guns.
Okay. All right. So, here's the next question. And I think this is now. Hang on, though. I want to come back to something. I want to come back to you, Justin, for just a minute, because you said you disagree with me, and that's no longer acceptable on the show. So, see ya. No, I'm just kidding. That they don't need to do the E3 stage show. Sell me. Why? Because I'm sold out on the concept that this is the year. This is here to come play ball with the other kids.
Yeah, I think they've got a really tight show, to be completely honest already. I think that they do a really good polish with their with the direct. I think with the behind the scenes. I think with the translation right there, or the localization. I think it just allows them to tell a better story. And I think when I go back to the January 2017 release of the Switch, that was a live show, right? That was a little bit of a hot mess at certain times, right? We also have to kind of remember that the E3 market is the North American market primarily. A lot of these other countries like Europe have their their Gamescom stuff that allows for that as well. And I think you kind of have to localize it a bit. And so I think it's just smarter to do that. I think it's a solid polish for them. I think they know their formula that works, and I think they set up a huge booth for whatever game they do. You have the Treehouse show up. That formula has worked for them. They have the numbers to support it. They can basically stretch out their content for 3 days essentially. I think it's smart. I really do. I think it just allows for them to not drop the ball. That's all. So.
And I totally get the idea of them not dropping the ball. And I think, but don't you think some of the awkwardness from that January 12th event was because it was for Nintendo of Japan audience and not for us?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know necessarily. I mean, I think some of the awkwardness we heard was through the localization, right? I think some of that.
Again, when Suda51 was purposely screwing with the translator.
Yeah, your audience. Your audience is unfortunately is for E3 is North American. So unfortunately, we do have to localize that, and we have to kind of let NOA here run the ship, and get themselves ready. And I think that they've already got a formula that works really great for them.
I will say that I do miss some of the silliness that was allowed during the Iwata era of Nintendo. The Bill Trennan eating all the donuts, and nobody can find Reggie's 3DS, and all kinds of stuff like I miss that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how well that works with the current way they're trying to portray themselves. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, I think I did enjoy it, but I think this is the time when that probably isn't necessary.
Yeah. What's our next topic?
That's true. So let's talk about this. What is, we know that the Switch has had a blockbuster year. We know that there needs to be follow through. That's obvious. What's the one thing, or maybe let's say, what are the things that you'd like to see happen that haven't yet? And I'll start this one off. For me, it's got to be the save issue. Justin, you've already alluded to it a lot. It's being talked about in the chat here as people are watching this on YouTube. The save state is absolutely ridiculous. Earlier tonight, I checked my Switch, which now I'm running 2 micro SD cards to hold all the games that I have, but on my Switch, which is the only place that my save states are, and there are allowed to be, I only have 222 megabytes left for saves.
At least you don't have to bust the back open to get to the SD card slot.
That's true. You just have to turn it off, open the kickstand, put in the new SD card, turn it back on. But anyway, it's a hot mess.
Which is still a hassle. Because
there's no way that I can spin it to redeem it or say anything good about it. It's a hot mess. It's a regression from the Wii, as you pointed out earlier, Jesse, that I mean we could transfer save data on the Wii. Why in the world in 2018 do I have saves that are locked to this? Why? It makes absolutely zero sense. And I'm gonna say something here, and people aren't gonna like it, and it's okay. I don't want cloud saves. I don't care. I don't want to have to wait at home where my internet is total crap
to download
for my save data to load or pull down. I want to be able to have it on my Switch. I want to be able to have it on my SD card. That's where it belongs. There's absolutely no reason that I went in earlier and had to delete save data that, it wasn't being used, but like Lego Worlds was taking up 3.9 gigabytes of save data on my on the Switch unit itself. Why can that not be put on an SD card? It's seriously, Jesse, you're the most technical of us here. Please tell me
that's like buttons.
That's like a line of code, right? That's like a switch they can flip.
It's easy to do. Playing the devil's advocate here, and I think, and I know I said this before, that's how the Wii got hacked, is by allowing importing of external saves, from the SD card into the system and then load it. And then they don't want that to happen to the Switch, so I'm sure they're trying to find some way to better encrypt it, to prevent the modification of a save file's data to purposely break the game.
That's still that's still not justification. I'm sorry. That's not happening on Xbox. That's not happening on PS4. And yeah, it's not on a SD card or whatever, but come on, Nintendo. Come on. This and the online service are the two huge gripes. They've got to get this right. It's got to happen. And I'm going to throw it in here. And I know people are starting to lose hope about it, but Virtual Console. You can't run a service for 10 years or greater and then just dry it up. It can happen. And so I want to see it. I don't care if it's download games. I don't care if it's subscription service. I really don't care what it is. I want to see it. Those are the three things I need to happen. Okay? Jesse, what about you?
Okay, yeah, and yeah, see, a lot of this seems to be like a big old summary of things we've talked about before, because everything I'm bringing up I know I've talked about before. But a revamp of the menu system that lets you rearrange the order of the icons, the size of the icons. Like in the 3DS, I love the ability that you're able to shrink them down and have more rows visible at once. Because that's the first thing I do every time I get a new system, is bring it so I can see 3 rows instead of just one big one. So and the icons on the Switch are huge. You're only able to see 5 or 6 before you have to scroll. So I'd like that, so the ability to resize, rearrange, make folders for more customization and organization, along with kind of a rehashed eShop, which allows more categories. Like, here are all the demos in one spot. Here's the big featured game of the week. Again, very similar to what the 3DS is doing and has been doing since it's almost day one. June when eShop launched, because it wasn't there at launch. So those are kind of the two big things that I have. Outside the big elephant in the room, which I'm sure we'll mention if Justin doesn't, but I'll save that one for the end.
Awesome.
Wait,
what about you, Justin?
I agree with everything you guys both said. I have nothing additional to add to that. We need to do that.
So you're not going to mention the elephant in the room?
No, you go ahead with the elephant.
Online.
Oh yeah, well,
while it has an online, it's I don't have any games that actually makes use of it, because I don't play ARMS, I don't play Splatoon, but but when they do turn on their online service, hopefully with the revenue they're bringing in from it, they do make, more servers that are more stable. And
Yeah. Like, I mean, the whole voice chat off your phone, Marty, you and I got in for a couple matches on Splatoon. That was just way too much work.
Yes.
It needs to be exponentially easier than that. And I think it's a patch solution for, unfortunately, some missed opportunities for hardware. And now we're kind of having to, in this kind of half world. So, yeah, I mean,
because even DS games had voice chat.
Yeah.
Gen 4 Pokemon had voice chat.
Yeah. It's a bit mad. So I mean, there's definitely things that need to be resolved.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, here's the thing, like there's some of this stuff that it was passable at the beginning. If you think back to last March, we were saying things like, oh, at least it's got an eShop. At least it's got a UI. Because, that was like one of the things that like in the beginning was people were clamoring for, like, why have we not seen the user interface? Why have we not seen this? Or why have we not seen the eShop menu? And then we got it and it was underwhelming. And then the argument became, well, it'll change. It'll change. Nintendo won't leave it like this for long. Well, it's been a year.
Yeah.
It's been longer than it should.
Yeah. And I do kind of think that's a little bit of the, coming out of the woods that was the Wii U. Like anything seemed like a good idea, right? And we were okay with that statement, right? But to your point, we are now this far into it. These things need to be fixed right away.
Right.
I'm actually not too upset that it's been a year and hasn't been up, and a lot of things haven't been done yet. Thinking back to how Xbox does things. I've never owned an Xbox, so I'm just going on stories I heard. How often do they change their interface? Like pretty much yearly or close to it?
I have no reference point.
See, I just got an Xbox One.
All right, so
not even mine.
No one here has an Xbox. Okay, so
but now I do know that they just went through a pretty big UI overhaul.
It seems like they do that almost every year, based on what I'm hearing, and then because everyone starts complaining about it until they get used to it. Anyway, so I kind of expected it to be at least a year before Nintendo would change anything. So, but really, I'm expecting E3 ish. They'll have the big release either like just before or just after. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. Well, we had a ton of response when it comes down to this. We actually asked you guys, listeners, on Twitter and on Facebook and on our Patreon page, and man, what an overwhelming response when it comes to this that we got. And we're going to go through and share some of these right now because we don't want to leave anybody out. And I think that your feedback is super important to this show and to hearing everybody's perspective on it. But one thing I'll say before we get into this is overwhelmingly everyone who responded said, hey, we've had a very positive experience with the Switch, right? It's been a great year. But alongside that, there have been a lot of people who have had some gripes with it as well. And so we're just going to go through these, guys. You can peel off and read some of these. They're in the doc. I'm pull my iPad over here so I can read these. The first one that we got came from Saul Reed, and here's what he said. I've loved the first year of the Switch. I was lucky enough to be the first person in Cambridge to pick mine up, front of the line. Breath of the Wild has honestly become my game of the decade, but if I start talking about it, we will definitely go over your podcast time. So instead, I'd like to talk about my favorite moment I've had with the console. I took a 3-hour train journey to see my stepbrother, and I was playing Mario Kart 8 when the staff member came up to check my ticket. And while checking, he said, "Oh, nice, a Nintendo Switch. I haven't seen one in the wild yet. Wow, Mario Kart looks great on that." Then he checked everyone else's ticket on the train before coming back and saying, "Sorry if this seems cheeky, but I've got time before the next train stop, and I was wondering if I can play some Mario Kart with you." So I ended up playing Mario Kart with an extremely nice fella for a good hour. This is a story I love to tell whenever anyone tells me that the console is going to make people even more antisocial, because in my experience, it's just not true. And that's an awesome story. And I know there's tons of other people who have had experiences like that with the Switch, breaking off the Joy-Con and sharing the joy with somebody, right? So Um, that's just a great story, and it shows you how versatile this console is, and how there's tons of potential for it later on. Justin, you want to read the next one?
Yeah, absolutely. And Saul, it's a great story. I absolutely love that. I was in an airport recently and I saw a guy pull out, we were waiting online to head out of Poland, and he was sitting down the floor and he pulled out his Nintendo Switch and he started playing something on it. And I kind of looked at him and I kind of wanted to give like the wink and the nod, right? That I was like, I had mine available. I was thinking about pulling it out too, but we were trying to catch a flight. So I was like, but yeah, that's a great story. It's all about the sharing the love. That's awesome. Next one comes from Ryan. With Zelda Breath of the Wild to play right at launch, I had a great time. This is what made the first few months amazing for me. Then it was game after game that kept me playing. I couldn't ask for a better year of games from Nintendo. What I am disappointed is with the lack of online functionality. Playing Mario Kart and Splatoon with friends turned out to be a huge hassle, and I don't understand how Nintendo still doesn't have an answer. We have the ability to easily play with friends for a long time on Microsoft and Sony consoles. I'd also really love to have a virtual console on the system because I like those games, because I feel like those games are perfect to play on the go. That is the kind of tied in with the online functionality, I guess. I expect to have a library of virtual console games to play as part of their online service in the fall. I think that they'll be able to pick from maybe 1 or 2 free games to play each month, and also be able to purchase games like we have in the past. Yeah, I mean, I think, Ryan, you're absolutely spot on. That's exactly what we're looking for. Breath of the Wild game of the decade. No, sorry, that was the other one. But game of the it was fantastic, right? I think Breath of the Wild satisfied a lot of people's hunger for the Switch, and was a showcase device for that as well. So, and I 100% agree with what we need for online functionality and the virtual console, which we've talked about. So well done.
By the way, I'm here. Hello.
Sorry. Keep moving on.
Hi.
Nope. Doesn't matter. Keep moving. Let's go.
Hey, man. No.
Welcome, Zach, to the show.
You, I just want to take this opportunity, like I always do, to say, with regards to anything virtual console, high hopes, low expectations. I honestly don't expect a lot out of this. I expect when it does happen, I guess what we're going to see is quality over quantity. I think they're going to maybe go a little bit overboard with the kind of like updates that they're doing to it. They've kind of said that you're going to be able to play them online. I feel like that's actually, like we're going to get maybe half a dozen, maybe a dozen of those kinds of games. I don't know. Maybe it's me feeling like I'm going to get disappointed, or at least preparing myself for that or something. I don't know. But I do feel like it's going to be quality over quantity. They're going to be good and it's going to be enjoyable, but we're not going to have this sort of huge library of stuff like we have had in the past.
It's going to be easy lifts for virtual consoles online. Like they'll put like the original Super Mario Kart for N64, or sorry, for the SNES online, and you can play with 12 buddies. Like that's the kind of thing they're going to do.
Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Hey, Zach, now that you're here, let's backtrack just a few minutes, because
man. No, he was late. He chose to be late. We move on.
I'm going to be benevolent tonight.
Oh, you are lucky you're in that seat, because one of us would have said, "Move along, son. Move along."
To the least of these, your brethren. There we go.
Right.
So
we've been talking about.
So when Zach's gone,
the slowest guy. God damn it.
So when Zach's gone, I'm sassy and he's benevolent. Is that how it goes?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens, I guess. So what we've been talking about is like just a year retrospective of the Switch.
Yeah.
And so we would love to hear your thoughts. How has your experience with the Switch been in a year, and where does Nintendo go from here? And what's something that you would like to see happen that has not yet?
Mm-hmm.
And you have 2 minutes.
Look, man, just because it's freaking 3:30 in the morning for you doesn't mean that you need to talk like that to me. First off, second. I would say it has been a roller coaster, actually. It has been really, really good at times, and I feel like the first part of this year has been mediocre, I would say. I'm waiting for the first thing to get me excited for this year.
Does anything have you excited for this year?
Like actually that's announced?
Yeah. Because we know that you hate video games right now.
No, I don't hate video games necessarily. I think like inherently, I just I don't know. I feel like things that are actually exciting. I'm looking on the eShop here of the coming soon, and I know that my son is interested in Kirby Star Allies. We'll probably end up getting that. I think that that's probably going to be pretty exciting. That Mario Tennis game could be good. It's more the stuff that is announced but not dated that I'm excited for right now.
Like
so
what?
That'd be Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon primarily. Like those are the two big ones for me that I am looking forward to, but those could both be next year for all we know. In fact, Metroid is almost guaranteed to be next year. And so as far as actual having said that, like the experience for the entire year has been amazing, right? Like I've got so many games on here and I've spent so much time on the Switch. It is, I think, I'm sure somebody here has probably already said it, but it is my favorite video game console of all time. Just because,
definitely.
Like, at least the hardware for sure, right? Like the software library, I think is still, like it has of the games that are on here, like Breath of the Wild is one of my favorite games I think I've ever played ever. And I mean, so many other great games in that first year, but I like this year so far makes me worried that Nintendo kind of, pardon the expression, but kind of blew their wad in their first year, and now we're like, okay, like now what do we got left? Like they're kind of scrambling now, and there's a little bit of a void in the follow up so far, and so I'm really excited for what's coming next. I think that they need to show that they can continue to give people things to look forward to. And I'm not entirely convinced by what they have coming up yet, other than the stuff that's not dated. So I don't know. I like that. I think, and the eShop is amazing. There's always cool stuff coming out on the eShop, which is really fun. So yeah, I think they're doing a great job overall.
Awesome. Thanks for that.
That was 3 minutes, but you know,
I'll let it slide. I will let it slide.
So we're going to continue on with what our patrons and fans and listeners have written into us about this year of the Switch. I love this one. Love My NES contacted us over on Patreon and said this: "It's funny to think back a year ago and remember how excited and nervous I was about the Switch. I was one of the few that really enjoyed the Wii U, but I knew that Nintendo really needed to knock it out of the park with this console. I was glued to the Switch for the first month playing one single game, Breath of the Wild. I remember pouring hours and hours into that game and finding it extremely hard to put it down, even for a day. Some of my greatest memories of the last year were experiencing new games on the Switch, from Splatoon 2 to ARMS, Mario plus Rabbids, and Super Mario Odyssey. What amazed me most was how many indie games popped up on the Switch within the first few months, and now they seem to be flooding the eShop, which has been great. My one complaint would be online service, but being a lifelong Nintendo fan, I know they are trying to do things the right way rather than just getting it up just to be up. I do hope more third-party developers start to create exclusives for the system. I know it can't keep up with the power of the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, but I do think many developers will find a niche in the system, especially game developers pushing nostalgia. I think that's where companies like Capcom and Square Enix could do really well, building on re-energizing games from the 80s and 90s. I think Nintendo should continue to pull in some older franchises back into the fold as well. Overall, though, very excited to see Nintendo back on track and really looking forward to another great year with the Switch." Thank you for that comment.
That's great. And I think the thing that really stands out for me, the statement that I like pulling there, is how many indie games popped up, right? And I think we have another comment later on, but this has really become an indie machine in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Fantastic, right? So I think that, we talk about those kind of drops, not drops, but maybe, I don't even want to use the word drought from Nintendo, right? And I think we use the word drought a lot when we talk about the Wii U, right? But when we're in between major hits or major first party titles, the amount of premium, and I'm going to use the word premium, indie content that is supporting the Switch has become such an important part of it, right? And I don't know about you guys, but like it's for me, it's almost an indie device. Like it's just so much indie content is on it.
But before the Switch was out, the Vita, even though Sony hadn't put any effort into it for several years, was still worth having because of it was the indie machine.
Yeah.
But now they've all moved to the Switch, and now the Vita is just a brick on my desk.
Poor Vita. Jesse, you want to pick up this next one and read it?
Sure. Christopher says, great first year of the Switch. Breath of the Wild was fantastic, and Mario Odyssey have been the only games I finished this year, and I have a PS4 and Xbox One. I'd love for some virtual console games ASAP. I need to buy Mario 3 again, and from here they need a solid Nintendo game for 2018, something more than Kirby or Donkey Kong Remake.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's coming at E3. We talked about that, but we'll have yet to see.
I think we're going to get something. I think whatever that major game is, I think we're going to get it before E3, so that because that booth is going to be all E3'd up.
Oh yeah. What do you think it's going to be though? You think it's going to be Smash? No, we mentioned that earlier.
I'm going to defer to Zach because I haven't heard Zach's opinion on this one for a while.
Yeah.
On what is going to be announced at E3?
Like what's like, like Zelda, there was a huge booth for Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
There was a huge booth for Mario Odyssey. What's Nintendo doing this year? E3.
What's the huge booth for Nintendo? If again they're focusing one game.
Oh.
Because guess what? I don't think it's going to be Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
No, I don't think so. I think it could be. Oh,
you know what it is? It's
I've
got it. Sorry, I've got it. It's Aces, and the entire game, the entire floor show is just a tennis match, and Reggie walks around in short shorts and a headband.
That game's already out by then, dude.
Aces hasn't been confirmed date yet.
It's spring. It's been confirmed for spring.
But they don't have a date.
Yeah, but spring is before E3, or it is immediately after E3.
And E3 is still technically spring.
Yeah, rumor is right now.
I don't
it's
think
like
the thing is though is that if they actually do that and they blow the doors off of that for a game that's likely, if it is spring, for a game that's going to be announced that month, people will lose their ever-loving minds because that means that they don't have anything exciting for the rest of the year, right?
Yep.
So there's no way there's going to be a couple things. I think Smash might be one that they could do. They may, depending on where Metroid's at. I think Metroid could be a contender. I think other ones that are I wonder if we see more of a patchwork style. Like the last two, we have seen like big booths that are all dedicated to one game. I don't know if they necessarily do that this time. Another game that we know is coming soon that I wouldn't be surprised if is by the end of the year is Fire Emblem. I don't think they're going to do a whole booth of Fire Emblem, but they might because in the past few years it's been pretty huge.
Justin wants them to do a whole booth of Fire Emblem.
Oh, I know they do. I
threw up my mouth.
But if they were to have something that was like one corner is Fire Emblem, one corner is Animal Crossing, one corner is Smash Brothers, and then like have some Pokemon thrown in there as well. I think they could actually do an entire booth on Pokemon.
I'm going to tell you what would be incredible.
Animal Crossing is a game that we haven't thought up yet this episode, so it was good.
I'm going to tell you what, as soon as you said that, I was able to picture it in my mind that their whole E3 booth be an Animal Crossing town.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And they announced that with the roll-in for the September launch of the online service.
And you must sell your soul to Tom Nook to get entrance.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I don't think we're gonna hear anything about the online service at E3. I'm just gonna say that now too, because it's too heated. It's too volatile of a topic. I think.
That's interesting.
I think it's something that they're like, you know what? Yeah, it's coming. I think we'll get something of like basically
Cliff Notes
of like don't get your panties in a bunch. It's coming, and that's all they'll say. Like I don't think they care, because really what are they going to bring that they haven't already said? The online, like basically the virtual console library thing that they've said they're going to do, and they're going to bring, I don't know, like what else? Like I think that when people are saying that, and this is a question, like an honest question, when people say the Switch does not have online functionality, I think they're asking for something that we're not going to get, which is the online, like the online voice chat. Nintendo's already told us what that is. It's the app, right? Like, and I think that people are just like, surely that's not actually what they're going to do. Surely they can't actually just use this app. Oh no, I think that's actually what they intend on doing. So I don't know.
I'm afraid you're right.
Like I really don't. I think people need to just kind of accept the fact that when Nintendo says online, the online voice chat is through an app, they're like, well, that's stupid. So obviously they wouldn't actually do that. No, I think they've already made it very clear that that's exactly what they're doing. And even though there is some chatter about the fact that that's not a great idea. So I don't know. Hopefully, I hope I'm wrong, but I
hope you're wrong too.
I hope I have a sense that I probably am not wrong. So
yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right that you're not wrong. That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, do you have the doc pulled up?
I do. Yes.
Yeah. You want to tackle this next from John Blanco there?
By John Blanco.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says, "Hey, dads, the Nintendo Switch has been such a hit for myself that not only did I start the Denver Switch Mob group on Facebook, but we're throwing a happy birthday party on March 3rd. I've been a lifelong gamer, but I've never put in as many hours into video games in a year until this one. I play on the train. I play while the kids are falling asleep. I play on during very short work breaks. I play work. I cannot read tonight. I play more often with friends thanks to the great local multiplayer games. And yes, maybe I play in the bathroom too. Yes, my 3DS was also portable, but Mario Kart never looked this good. If I'm Nintendo, I continue down the path of bringing some of the recent hits that have appeared on other platforms to the Switch. Games like Super Meat Boy, Owlboy, Skyrim, Doom, Blossom Tale, I Am Setsuna, and Steep, haha, just kidding, have all become welcome ports and games I've never played before. We'll never have a year like 2017 again, but Yoshi, Tropical Freeze, Dark Souls, and fingers crossed Bayonetta 3 are all I need in 2018 because my backlog is huge. But yeah, there's no way Bayonetta 3 is 2018, by the way.
I completely forgot about Dark Souls.
Yeah, that's coming soon, right?
Very soon.
Then he says, one thing I'd love to see happen that Nintendo hasn't done yet, though, is fix 8-player wireless. My friends and I have tried to play Mario Kart with 8 devices, and still has never worked. I'm sure it's rare to have so many devices playing together, but it's something that's advertised as possible, but nobody seems to have noticed that it's broken. Oh, well, there you go, Nintendo. We know we've got some people over there. Fix that, peeps. Yo, send the message via the interwebs to them. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think with all of this?
Yeah, 8-player wireless is an issue, and that's one thing that was advertised as a huge thing. You know, it featured very heavily in that first preview video. You know, that nice little spread of all those switches, you know, spreading out like in a circle, you know, and how they were all playing together. That definitely needs some attention, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of goes along with the just the connectivity in general. I've had some Wi-Fi issues with my Switch. And some people say they have it and some people don't. You know, it's kind of like there's been a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of, but there's been quality issues with the Switch.
Which kind of goes to what I said earlier about, you know, once they get a revenue stream with the intent of maintaining a better network, that might help. It should help.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's move on. Let's read a couple more of these. Matthew Gibson says, honestly, it's been super good. Already feels like I've had it for many years, not just the one. I will echo that. I think he's right. There's a lot of top quality games, and I still have to delve into a ton more on the eShop. There are definitely some noteworthy improvements that can be made, but for its first year, the Switch has been great. The portability of the system is such a cool feature. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ryan Craig says, I had buyer's remorse at the beginning, and I thought, did I just really spend $360 to play Zelda? As the year progressed, the purchase more than justified itself. First-party titles have been great, but the best surprise has been the indie games. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that with Wii U, the indie games are almost necessary? You know, like near the end especially. The indies were the only thing keeping Wii U afloat, and that's probably, you know, part of why the indies are so strong on Switch now too. But think about this: would it have been such a good first year if it hadn't been for the indies?
That's a good question.
I think the first year still would have been strong, as I said. They had a significant release almost every month. Year 2 without the indies would be more difficult, but I think with the indies they were able to fill in a lot of those gaps in the schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I've enjoyed the indies. I think it's fun. I think that ultimately though, you buy a Nintendo, at least for me, like you buy a Nintendo console for Nintendo games, and the indies are the gravy on top, right? And that's where I'm kind of like, I am maybe a little bit less. I don't know how to really say this, but like I give Nintendo less of a pass than I think some people do. Of like, I think some people are like, oh yeah, we've got indies to hold us off until the next Nintendo game. It's like, well, that's not really why I bought a Switch, to play indie games. Like, I don't mind playing indie games. I think they're fun, but that's not the meat and potatoes of why I'm here. You know, it's they're the things that kind of hold me off in between. So,
Justin,
my plate beeth overflowing of gravy. If I'm using Zach's analogy there. I think the indies are fantastic. I think they're really great. I think we've seen some amazing games come to Switch for indies. I mean, I agree with Zach, which hurts, but you don't buy it for indie games. You don't buy it for third-party games. You buy it for your Nintendo games, right? What I'm happy to say is that between some of the first-party games that maybe don't catch my attention the same way, there's a plethora of content from indie developers that's really good. And fits nicely in the system, that doesn't feel like it's being made, being compromised to put there, which I think sometimes you could feel like that is. So I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin, you want to take a couple more here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Plow through a couple of those.
Sure. So Andre says, I like it a lot. The only thing I want is more JRPGs. Okay, so those words came out of my mouth. Those aren't my words. Those are Andre's words.
You did that on purpose, didn't you?
Portability
Marty
is the ultimate way to play JRPGs, and the Switch is the best portable yet. Tim says, my experience with the Nintendo Switch has been awesome so far. Where Nintendo goes from here, I agree. Proper save backup is number one. One thing I want to see happen: new Smash game like Raw versus SmackDown, except major characters versus indie characters fight. That's a cool concept. I like that. David W says, I always love how so many people hopped on buying a Switch year one. Like my Switch friends list is way higher than the Wii U one ever was. It's on par with 3DS. The Switch is literally one of my favorite Nintendo consoles for sure. Far superior to the Wii U. Only thing we need is a few more of the Wii U ensembles or essentials like Pikmin 3 and Smash to be brought over and we are all good. And then Par Hype and Do says, cloud saves, reinvent Pokemon, think Breath of the Wild, Fire Emblem. They nail these down. Year 2 is as successful as year 1.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. Particularly like the times that I've heard Pikmin get brought up in this over and over, like maybe that's the game.
That's what I'm almost wondering, if Pikmin is the game that we're getting. That would be, and I wonder the online functionality would be. Zach, you're a Pikmin fan, aren't you?
Yeah, like
you're furrow browed there, by the way.
I feel like they would need to do a little bit to increase the appeal, I guess, or like the mass appeal of the game, for it to be like a cornerstone or sort of like a flagpole game for the year. I don't think that's I don't think that Pikmin is, unless it's like suddenly something much bigger, because ultimately it's a strategy game, right? It's a real-time strategy game. It's similar
to Metroid. It's kind of that niche market.
Yeah.
It's not everyone it's not a game for everyone.
Mm-hmm. And so that's where I wonder about that. Is I don't know if it's quite what Nintendo needs to win the hearts and minds of people who are looking for the next Zelda.
Like, especially after a year of Mario Zelda 1-2 punch.
Yeah,
right?
and I think honestly, depending on like their best bet if they can get it out in time is probably Pokemon. Honestly, like I think that there are a lot of people who potentially would be up for Pokemon that would be that they'd be able to get a lot of attention for that. But I don't know. It's hard to say. Other than that, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
Cool. Let's move on and let's finish these off here. Jesse, dig in there and read a few more of those.
Okay. We up to Mr. Brooks?
Yep.
Okay. Indies on the Switch could not be better. It's definitely the place for them. It'll be the perfect with cloud saving and proper chat for multiplayer. Games have been sold solid for the most part. Ports like Doom, Rocket League, LA Noire, Skyrim are simply amazing. First-party games, virtually perfect. Breath of the Wild game of its lifespan. I love it. So that he kind of brings up a point about cloud savings, and I just thought of something. Some games makes especially the smaller games makes sense that a cloud save would be useful. Where a larger game like your 6 gig Minecraft file, not so much. But whether ultimately it'd be best if we had the choice of turning that on and off. But at least giving the developer the option of making it available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would be
Drew,
nice.
yeah, absolutely. Drew Love says, I rarely played my PS4 since I got my Switch. I'd love for the Virtual Console to hit the eShop. Oh, and I'm really, really hoping for Luigi's Mansion game on the Nintendo Switch. Drew, you and I might have just become best friends. So yes, I agree.
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion needs to happen big time.
It feels
not enough Luigi's Mansion.
It feels like that's a game they could very easily resurrect, and I think that'd be a massive hit. I mean, I love that.
I saw what you did there.
You like that? Good. Mikey Burgett says I've had it since Christmas, and I really enjoy it. The only downside is I've had it so much. The only downside I've had is just so much accessories that are needed to buy separately. I'm hoping the third-party support continues to grow. That's a great point, right? Like we've all probably got Pro controllers and extra Joy-Cons and carrying cases, right? There's a lot of accessorization that goes with it, and of course a market is created to support that. So I definitely agree with that, and Mikey, glad to see that you have purchased it as well. Dan says, the most surprising thing to me is how stupid it seems that I just picked up my PS4. I can't just pick up my PS4 and play it everywhere. I can't take Overwatch with me. I hardly play it at all. If it's not on the Switch, I don't touch it. That absolutely surprises me about the Switch. Where does Nintendo go from here? Make sure your online is done right. Fix the save backup issue. And if I had other thoughts, an amazing new Animal Crossing game. One thing I'd like to see, I'd really like third parties to start hitting up the Switch in a big way. Overwatch, Hearthstone, Fortnite, Battlefront, heck, Anthem. Yes, please make it happen, EA. Dumb down the textures, drop it to 30 frames per second at 720, and put it on my Switch. And the list of what I find engaging about video games graphics are dead last. Interesting.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And again, I think I've said this before, but a lot of people say, "Oh, only 30 frames a second." I'm not going to get it. It's not 60, but 30 that is constant and fixed and smooth is still better than 60 that drops down to 45 every once in a while.
Yeah.
I actually saw somebody arguing about this or talking about this today on the Nintendo voice chat forums on Facebook about the Kirby demo.
Right.
That they were like, I'm just not going to be able to buy Kirby because it's 30 frames per second. You can definitely tell it by this demo. And the point that I wanted to make is because a demo always equals finished product, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you remember a few months ago, a while ago with a Rayman demo, right? It came out in the EU eShop and was terrible. It had stuttering and had all kinds of problems, and they pulled it, and it was a little bit of time before it came out. Unfortunately, Nintendo doesn't have that kind of time with Kirby right now.
Yeah. It is interesting, Dan. I think you have spoken the love language to Zach here regarding Overwatch on the Switch. Zach, that's been something that you've kind of really been advocating for
on the Switch. And I think that it's. I saw a rumor online. I would just love any Blizzard game on the Switch, frankly. I saw a rumor that Diablo 3 may be ported to the Switch, considering it's already been on a bunch of other stuff. I would love that.
So let me take a quick pump the brakes here and ask a question. So there's a difference between I would want something, right? It'd be great if. What do you think the reality? Do you think it's a
I don't think it's a reality though. I
don't
think
it's a real possibility in any way.
Not this year. I don't think it's a priority for them, and I think they could do it. I mean, I play a bunch of games on my like Surface Pro that are considerably less. Right. Like I play Overwatch on the lowest settings, and so I don't know if I necessarily need to. Like it plays fine, right? In fact, like I played Payday 2 this week and it was fine, right? Like it's not great visually, but it's good enough to play it, right? Like,
yeah. And
so I feel like that's I don't know about where I'm at with that. It's not that big of a thing for me.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think it would be really fun, but it's really not likely in my mind. Right. That Overwatch is going to be coming because I like there's just been no Blizzard's pretty they're pretty I don't want to say like transparent, but I think we would know if it was coming soon. And I think the Diablo 3 is a more likely possibility at this point. I could be wrong, and I would love if I was wrong, but that's my suspicion at least. So yeah. I don't know. But again, yes, I would love to have Overwatch on. By the way, Marty, do you still follow Overwatch? Did you see the new Overwatch character that was announced?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like that. It's like the game that keeps on giving. And I would really love to have Overwatch on. On the Switch.
Yeah, totally. Right on, man. Sorry, I just got a text right as I was.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I'll finish these up and
let's do it.
And we'll move on. Just a couple more. Bruce Patterson says, I just bought the Switch last week, but no games yet. I'm really anxious for the future and happy that I waited to buy it. And Bruce, shout out to him, man. He's been saving up for a Switch for a long time, and he finally was able to buy one and send us a picture, and good for him. Good thing there's demos, right?
Yeah, check out those demos, dude.
Yeah, and so hopefully he'll be able to pick up a few games that he's been wanting here soon. And then one of our Patreon producers, Dave Ernsberger, sent this over, and he said, gents, I think what Nintendo has done with the Switch to completely reverse its fortunes has been quite spectacular. I've had mine since day one, and like most people, Breath of the Wild is my most played game at more than 145 hours. Both the hardware, which is revolutionary, and the software, which is AAA in 2017, finally put a sword through comments from some of the pundits that Nintendo should abandon consoles and stick to software and maybe handhelds. What kind of world would we live in where Nintendo doesn't make hardware? I shudder to think. Thanks to Switch, I don't have to deal with that for at least a few more console generations. Well done, Nintendo, but I do wonder how they will build on from here. 2018 is a pass for them, for me. But will they bring the same cavalier bravado in 2019? I sure hope so. Very well worded.
Yeah, no kidding. I'd like him to write all of our intros going forward now.
Absolutely. Yep. So that's our reactions to the Switch, guys. It's been an amazing year. It's been an incredible year to be a Nintendo fan, to watch kind of the phoenix rise from the ashes, I guess. In a way. And man, I know that I'm kind of like wary of 2018 and like saying, well, they're going to let us down, or it's not going to be as whatever, but honestly, I really just want them to knock it out of the park, just as much. Like, that's my desire. I don't know that they're going to be able to do it, but I sure hope so. I sure hope we get like we're sitting here like I would love to sit here at this time next year and say, wow, I have to eat my words. Right? Because 2018 was just bonkers.
Yeah, and I feel like if you would have asked, here's the thing too, is like if you think about the first half of like where we were a year ago about like what was coming for 2017, I feel like there were a few things in there, and like the eShop picked up in such a way that this time last year, I feel like we were not nearly as excited about sort of the year as a whole until like all of these things kind of just lined up, and like, you know, like we kind of had an idea that things were coming, but the way things unfolded in general, I think was a big it surprised us. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I think that's where part of me too, where I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm not super excited about this year so far because they haven't said anything concrete. But having said that, they're really good at surprising us, and I'm looking forward to being surprised.
Yeah, and I 100% resonate with that, Zach, because I think, you know, a year ago when we saw the launch, right, and the words that were being flown around was like, this is it. There's no games to play in 2017. There's no games to play in 2017. Right. And I think as we're on the cusp of 2018, we do know some things, very much like we knew some things when the Switch was released, and we're all saying, what is there to play? What is there to play? I'm not hyped. Right. Nintendo, to your point, Zach, will roll out information which will make you get excited for stuff. Right. Which will bring that up. I kind of have, you know, if future actions will demonstrate by what the past has happened. Nintendo will show its hand. We'll all be excited in a year from now. Be like, remember how we all worried about 2018? Yeah, it seems like we were just
right.
Right.
Yeah.
This is like, it's a cycle. This too shall happen again. So I think that we, you know, just kind of have faith that we, you know, Nintendo may not be telling us what we want when we want, but it will give us the information eventually.
Absolutely. Well, gents, let's move over and talk about some games we've been playing, shall we?
Let's do it. Yes.
Let's do it.
Super. Let's do it.
Got a bumper.
All right, so we've got a couple of games this week that we have gotten from some fine folks, and we'll talk about those here in just a minute. But before that, I'm mainly those are games I've been playing. But Justin, I want to talk to you about a game that you have been playing.
Yes,
I am super interested in, and right now is very quickly moving up the charts of the eShop, and that is Mulaka.
Yeah. Mulaka was on our list of top games we're watching out in March, and big thanks to the developer and PR team, Lienzo. I think I would say that wrong every time. Lienzo and Evolution PR for sending us a copy. You know, very much, and there is 20 minutes gameplay footage on our YouTube channel if anyone wants to check that out, of me doing some commentary as well. This is a 3D world action adventure game. And it is set in the Mexico is a location for it. This is the Tarahumara people, which is kind of a culture, a subculture within Mexico. And you play as Mulaka, and your objective is to essentially, you know, there's an evil spirit that's coming in and kind of destroying the land, and you need to help and save the land, obviously, right? And you do this through exploration and achieving. You know, working with animals and the environment and kind of the spirit in your trying to, you have the ability to look into the spirit realm and find other people who are giving you hints. It is a really cool game. And the really neat part about it is that the development team really wanted to focus on the culture, the preservation, and the authenticity of the mythology around it. And they did put out some short videos we promoted on our Twitter feed as well. From a gameplay perspective, it's a lot of fun. It's it's great to explore. The art style is kind of, it's very polygon. I guess polygon's the base wording they use there, very square. But it's very cool. Combat system is really easy to use. They do a great job in tutorializing you. Each area has kind of, I almost use the word like dungeon-esque. So each land is kind of like a dungeon in some way, in that you need to, you know, within that land accomplish certain tasks to be able to get 3 stones. And the 3 stones then activate kind of remove this big boulder that once the boulder is removed, then you go into a boss fight. Right, you have the big boss that you have to complete. There is healing potions that you grab at various points. There's stuff that you kind of forge together to make bombs. But there's this kind of neat aspect where you kind of activate. Do you remember it sounds like the only point of reference I have, remember playing the Batman Arkham games and be like going to detective mode? They have a feature kind of like that where they go into like seeing the spirit world. And so there's a world kind of over top the real world you live in that has other clues, and you find people who are kind of caught between the spirit realm that's in the spirit realm and you talk to them and they give you hints. You can see enemies, you can see kind of secret passages, you can see where you have to go for your next achievement. It is really a very cool, fun game, and I think very much like Faye a couple of weeks ago, it tells a really cool story, right? I think this is, and I said in my review, I think this is a collision between art, culture, and video games. And it's a really beautiful collision of just how I think a game can be used in an educational purpose, and that is both fun and engaging and just really great and really cool. And you learn something that you didn't learn before. I would highly recommend Mulaka. It's like $20 on the eShop. This is another example of indies who are just knocking it out of the park. So this is a fantastic game. I would highly recommend it if you like 3D adventure open world games. It's, I guess, not open world. 3D. Yeah, it's an open world game. There it is. Yeah.
How close to Zelda is this?
Not as close as I'm making the analogies out to be. I'm trying to use that as a point of reference.
Right.
So. Yeah, not, I mean, there's Zelda-esque elements to it. I guess maybe Ocarina of Time would maybe kind of be the style or the way I'd maybe touch it closest to.
Right.
Kind of reminds me of playing an N64, to be honest, with the art style a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that could be a little bit of a reference for sure.
Okay, cool.
I think if you got $20, you'd be throwing it at it.
So have you been playing anything else?
Just the Kirby demo that we came out yesterday.
Yeah, so let's talk about this Kirby demo for just a minute. Yep. I mean, we've already mentioned it, kind of in passing about the frames per second kind of thing. Obviously, the Kirby demo is only available in the EU eShop right now. But if you know how to have a EU account, you can get that. It's not really a big deal. It's not like a closely guarded secret or whatever. But Justin, I know obviously you have downloaded. I downloaded earlier today. Zach or Jesse, did you guys download it?
I played the easy level. I haven't played the hard level yet.
Okay, so let's just kind of go around the horn here and talk about that. Zach, what did you think? I mean, and I'm going to start with you because you being the person who's saying like you're kind of bored or kind of out of it lately. I'm not throwing that back at you, but just as somebody who maybe isn't feeling it as much.
No, yeah, no, that's fine. I kind of I was actually surprised at how much I enjoyed that easy level.
Yeah,
like the combining powers. Is that new to Kirby games? Like,
yes,
that I was gonna say that felt new and it was cool. Like the like you combine like the sword and the fire, and all of a sudden like you're just setting everything on fire everywhere. Felt really good. You know what I mean? Like it was a really good. I enjoyed that a lot. Yeah, I think overall, actually, if there was anything about that first level that I didn't really like was, I mean, it's probably the first level in the entire game, and it's a Kirby game, but it was very easy. Like the end boss of that was very, very easy, especially when I had 3 buddies coming along with me. But having said that, I actually was. I think the thing with frame rate that you have to realize is that you notice it for about the first minute and a half that you play the game, and then you forget, right? It's like going to a 3D movie where you pay the extra friggin' $10 or whatever. I don't know if it's that much, but you pay the extra money and you notice every once in a while, but for the most part, you don't really notice the difference, right? It just kind of becomes whatever the normal is, as long as it's a consistent frame rate. And I think that's like, I kind of initially was like, oh, well, this is a little bit weird that like this shouldn't be putting that much of a strain on the system. And so it's a little weird that it's here or that it's only 30, but it didn't bother me. Like I was okay with it. So I don't know. I think people getting bent out of shape about that also need to realize that this is a game that's primarily for kids, and let's not get too worked up about a game that's meant for a younger audience. So I don't know.
Right.
I thought it was fun, and I think that my kids are going to like it. So,
I guess. Well, I'll talk about it here in just a second. I want to hear what you thought, Justin.
Yeah, my kids have been. I think I was before. My kids have been pretty hyped for this game for a while. So when I actually saw the tweet that it was out instantly, I was at home and I yelled for my daughter. I'm like, "Why don't you bring the Switch up here?" So I downloaded it for her, and then when she's like, "Oh, it's out!" I'm like, "The demo is. We'll play it tonight." And it was like the moment I got off work, they were like, "So we're gonna play it like right now, right?" So they were very excited for it. Zach, if you want the game to be more challenging, here's what I would suggest: play it with your kids.
oh jeez.
Because that is an event in gameplay management which will drive you bonkers. But we sat on the couch, the three of us, and had a crack at it, and it was really fun. They had a ton of fun with it. They were smiling. They were kind of yelling at each other to come over here and wait for me, and I want to be this person and help me get the fire. And they were problem solving the levels, so that was a lot of great fun. We played both the easy and the hard, actually. And then when they were like, so we played them back to back, and then we were done. They were like, so is that it? And I was like, that's it. And they're like, oh man. So they definitely kind of got hooked, right? They wanted to play it more, and so they're very excited.
It's free, kids.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they had a great time with it. I thought it was fun to play with them. Yeah. So I'm excited for it. I definitely recommend doing it.
Yeah. So as somebody who sees co-op video games with their kids as an exercise in frustration, I was interested in this simply because it has been pushed as a primarily co-op game. At least I think it has. I mean, I don't think I'm too off base in that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree with that.
I mean, it's all about friends, and it's all about having someone play with you and everything. So I played this afternoon with my son, and we pretty quickly made it through both levels that are offered in the demo, and he absolutely ate it up. He loved it. I had already played them, so just alone. And I will say, having that experience, having played them alone and playing them with somebody, it was a lot more fun to play it with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is kind of indicative of the whole experience that we're going to have when it finally does release. And so I got to thinking about this, and Zach said this about it. Let's not call it what it's not. This is a game for kids. My thing is that with the Switch, and with it being the functionality of being able to have two controllers, break them off and all that stuff, are we seeing a game that is primarily designed for families to play together? And that is the goal from the beginning. Like, they said, we're going to make a Kirby game, and we're going to make it where families can play this together.
I would say so.
Because like, that's what I get from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
it seems like it.
And the thing about it is like, I don't think there should be any shame in that, Well,
I mean, this time last year, well, I guess maybe we're about a month difference, but like, is this kind of filling? Well, I guess we still got Mario Tennis coming too, but like, again, just the sort of, maybe this is like the snipper clips of this year. I mean, it's a little more involved than snipper clips, but
yeah.
I guess snipper clips was not great for younger kids either, so maybe that's a bad comparison. But yeah, I can see that for sure. The comparison, or just the idea that it's designed more for kids, I can see that.
Absolutely. And I don't think that Nintendo needs to be ashamed of that at all. I think they just
totally
need to own it, and they need to, yes, it was made for kids. Yes, it was made for kids and adults to enjoy.
I think what we see though is that Nintendo, maybe this is a statement more like a certain population of Nintendo fans, but I see a lot of, older Nintendo fans, and it always surprises me. And hey, man, no judgment, you do you. But whenever I see like, people in their late 20s, early 30s who are like, yeah, the next Kirby game's coming out, and I'm just like, really? Like that's something you jazz for? I mean, I don't understand. But I everybody's got their own thing, but like, I don't know, just kind of like hanging out, playing their own. I don't know, man. Maybe no judgment here, but maybe secretly.
Totally judgment there.
Yeah.
Like that was not even a like.
That wasn't even like any attempt whatsoever at trying to ask that.
Send your angry hate mail to nintendodads@gmail.com to the attention.
Here's what I'll say to people if there are listeners out there who are like that, which I'm sure there are. Help me understand, like, honestly, because I don't get it. It's baby games, but I enjoy playing. I'm just joking, but really,
honestly,
I don't get it. Because
maybe I can help you understand since you're kind of talking about me.
Oh, jeez.
Like okay. in a way, like I used to really enjoy, like there was a time, because I remember being a teenager when the very first Kirby game came out, right? Like playing that on the original Game Boy, and then Kirby's Adventure came out, and it blew my mind because like it was huge. And it was on the NES, and it had all these hidden secrets and stuff like that. But then, like, over the years, it transferred from, like, Kirby being this game, which was, like, expansive and figuring out all the abilities and how they work together and how you can find all the secrets in the stage, to Kirby being, like, an entry-level game in a way. You get what I'm saying? Like, look back at some of the Kirby games that you've played and compare them to some of the ones that we've gotten recently. Like, Epic Yarn is a much different type of game, and I'm not just talking about the graphics. I'm just like, the presentation. The like, honestly, how different a game that is than like Kirby.
Oh, that game was like it was very simple.
It was very simple, but I mean, it had it. Compare that to Return to Dreamland for the Wii, where the last half of the game went, oh, you want it to be difficult? Okay. And just ratcheted it up,
I wonder if with games like that, like, again, because of just inherently the kind of customer, I guess, or the kind of player that is attracted to, like, primarily attracted to Kirby game. If I wonder if they got like a lot of bad feedback from that, like, oh yeah, my young child tried to play this game and got absolutely worked and was frustrated by it. I know that that is by far, as a parent, the worst thing that any video game designer could ever do is design a game that looks like a kid's game in the art style and then make it like really super hard. So like, the last thing you want as a parent is to buy your child a video game and then have them come crying to you because it's too hard.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, that is one of the worst things that a video game designer could do to a parent. So yeah, I think that's and I think that maybe the Kirby franchise has experienced that in the past. At least I wonder about that. I wonder if that would be something that that has happened in the past. That would be my working theory, if that makes sense.
I honestly don't know, but it's a great theory. It's absolutely a great theory. Zach, what have you been playing lately, man?
I have been playing. I guess the main thing I've been playing, as far as like games lately that I need to talk about, I guess Payday 2 is the big one, which is an interesting thing for me. I don't know. Okay, so Payday 2, if you don't know what it is a first-person shooter heist game, I would say. Like, it's not necessarily like a run. Like, there's missions that you have. I'll be honest with you. I am not like I played the tutorial, sucked at this game, said, screw this, I'm not doing the tutorial, and went and started playing regular missions and actually did pretty good. Like was doing stuff. But for some reason, there's like a stealth tutorial mission that I just barely beat today. I've done a bunch of other missions and like unlocked guns and stuff, but the single player campaign, like the majority of this game is just different heist missions and stuff. There's, at least that I've seen so far, there's not that much story content. Like, there's not much of like a single player campaign, at least that I've seen. I will report back to see if there's anything more, but basically it's it's kind of like going in, checking. You kind of have to. The problem that I have with this game is that the tutorials are very slow. Like they're trying to teach you how to bag and end. Like, for example, the tutorial mission, they have you go in, shoot the first guard, put him in a body bag, throw him in a dumpster, move forward ahead again, see the next guard, shoot him. Oh crap, I don't have a body bag. I gotta go grab one. Go and grab a body bag that's up on top of the balcony that has been dropped off for who knows how that happened. But I go up the stairs to get a body bag, and then on my way back down, he's like, oh crap, now there's another guard that has found the body. And I kid you not, probably like a dozen times, this stupid guard ended up alerting everybody else before I could take him out. And then it would start the entire tutorial over. And it's the kind of tutorial that's like, do this action, and then it will sit there and wait and give you the cue, and then you do the action, and then it will wait and give some like actual voiceover cue of what you're supposed to do next, but won't let you do it until the voiceover has finished talking. And then it will let you do the next thing, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I've done this a million times, just let me do it. So having said that though, like, I don't know, it's fun. It's how much is this in the eShop? It's I think I think if it's a kind of game that you're looking for, the big problem is that I feel like some of these big heists you would want to have, and I know this is like, you would want to have voice chat, right? And this is one of those games that you don't have voice chat in the game. It doesn't support the voice chat app, and so you would have to get together with people over Skype in order to do it. You wouldn't be able to just get into a party with some random people and have voice chat. And there's not even like in what were some of the other games that are like online, and you can kind of map. I think it was maybe like Metroid Prime Federation Force, where you could map different verbal commands or whatever, like over here, right? Like you can't do. There's none of that in this game, and so there's literally no communication between anybody on these missions that requires coordination. And that, I think, is the most frustrating piece. So you're left to get together with a bunch of friends over Skype, or just do it with computer teammates. And that's it's fine. It's good enough. But I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that without that voice communication, it's really hard. And yeah, I'm looking in the chat here, Sean French saying the tutorial sucks. Absolutely. The game has a high learning curve, and it's best played with friends, but it's amazing when it works. And I feel like that is, that's true. And it honestly feels, that feeling that you had when you played Metroid Prime Federation Force or Zelda Triforce Heroes, where it was like, oh, come on, like I just need something to do, like I need some way to communicate with my allies that it is better. Like this doesn't even have the verbal cue stuff that a lot of those other kinds of games would have, because I think they're expecting. I think that this game was designed to rely on the system level in order to have that communication, right? On something like PS4 or Xbox One or something, that it's built right into the system, and it's not on the Switch. So,
right.
So yeah, and I think
it's actually you had asked. It's $50.
It's $50. Yeah, that's a bit steep for this. So unless you're planning on. And I think this is a good indicator for why it is too, the voice chat right now. I think even if they're going to stick to this app thing, they need to change how it works on a system level so that it because otherwise, basically right now, what it seems like app developers have to do is actually develop something that Nintendo would put into the app itself, which is just broken. Like that's just not going to work. And so it needs to be on a system level where people can kind of just jump in and out, and that you could just automatically request a voice chat with another person. So I don't know. They need to fix that, because this game is broken without it. So, but it's fun. Like again, like if you play the single player stuff, it's pretty decent. So anyway.
Cool. Cool.
Also probably not child friendly.
Oh, of course not. No. It's got all sorts of saucy language and shooty and stashing bodies and all that stuff. So yeah, don't buy it for your small child. As with anything, check the ratings on the eShop before you buy it. So
Right.
yep.
Yep.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, I don't know, it's just been more of same old Skyrim, Enter the Gungeon, and I've been playing. I went back to Stardew Valley, I guess was the other one. So that's pretty fun. Stardew Valley is a good sort of just Zen game. It's pretty good. So yeah, that's about it for me.
So Jesse, what you been playing?
So I've been playing more of Radiant Historia. So I almost 30 hours in. I'm about level 45, which I think I'm over leveled compared to the story based on other things I've read. Like if I get stuck in a boss battle, I'll look up hints on what I should do. And when one person said, "Oh yeah, I beat him and I'm level 23," I'm like, I'm 45. What's going on? So I think some of the additional content that I mentioned last week in this new version might be part of it. So it's just giving me more battle opportunities to level up earlier. Either that, or I am not running away from battles. I am fighting everything I can. So that might be part of it. I'm just kind of doing my own grinding. So I'm doing my own grinding without grinding, which is the good way to do it. I'm doing it as I'm playing the game natively as part of the story, instead of having to stop the story just for the purpose of leveling up. So I would look back at my previous save on the DS game, and I was like I think near level 50 with 60 hours in when I got to near the end game and got stuck. So I've been playing the game for half that time and almost caught up to myself. So I mentioned last week there's the 2 timeline paths. There's 6 chapters in each timeline before they kind of remerge into the end game. So I'm in chapter 4, so I'm still like halfway through the game in both the standard timeline and the alternate timeline.
Gotcha.
So, and the game gives me interesting scenarios of why I need to bounce back and forth. Like I follow one path till I get hung up, and I have to backtrack into the other path to learn something new that I need to learn to use for how to get rid of a poison gas, for example. So I go back in time to learn to get the item I need to get rid of the poison gas, so it's safe to continue. So the another game I picked up, I picked it up today, so I haven't gotten very far into it. It was released today. Is A Normal Lost Phone.
I saw something about this. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the Nintendo downloads press release. In the other games released are, and this one kind of caught my eye. And I think I've only played it for like 20 minutes, so I still don't know what the story is trying to make me do. But the premise is you find a phone. You find someone else's phone on the ground, and you pick it up and you start going through it. And
like you
do, and because initially it's not logged into the Wi-Fi. Apparently, it has no data. It's like a prepaid phone that's used up all its credits, so there's no data. You can't make a phone call. And it's got a few apps installed on it. So one of the first things you're able to do is go through the messages. And you find out that the owner of this phone, had a girlfriend for several months and seems to be going well. Then something happened 2 days before his 18th birthday, or the day before his 18th birthday, and he ended up wanting to break it off with her. And she gets upset, and then all of a sudden he's missing, and all that's left from him is his phone. And the timestamp of the date and time of the phone when you start the game is literally like 2 minutes after that last text came in. So this is whatever happened just before you found the phone. So you go through the hints. Without Wi-Fi access, you can't access the emails, and there's like a dating app. You can't access the dating app yet, but going through some of the messages through multiple buddies, you're able to determine what the Wi-Fi password is, so you can get logged in. So now you can go into email and read more information, and then you learn clues on what he uses for passwords to get into the dating app under one profile. There's 2 profiles in the dating app, and I haven't figured out the password of the second one yet. So that's kind of like how far I am in it. So I don't know if this is just almost like a sandbox where it gives you some things to discover on your own, and that's really it, or if there is an underlying story that does have a conclusion. I don't know yet. I'm kind of hoping it does, but that'll be something we'll poke around in.
Yeah, it seems like an interesting little thing.
It is playable in Tate mode. You can choose traditional way or Tate mode. Tate vertical. So it's like you're okay. So it's like, and everything's touchscreen based when you're holding it that way. So it's like a phone. So it's like a real phone.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
So that's how I've been playing it so far.
Actually sounds really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about that, because it's I don't know, we'll see. Well, and it's fairly cheap too, right?
Yeah, it was like $6.
Yeah. Right on.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Very cool.
So I've been playing a few games that I picked up. 2 of them are games that were sent to us by the creators, and one is one I wanted to pick up today just because I think it's fun. Mm-hmm. The first one is Bridge Constructor Portal that was sent to us by who developed this? This is terrible. I should have that. Justin, can you Google this?
I'm just looking it up on the eShop.
I'm talking about it. I think it's like Clock. So,
I'll get it for you right now. Hold on.
Terrible. It's terrible. Like I should have this. I'm sorry.
For shame.
No, anyway, if you've played Bridge Constructor, you know it's a game about building bridges to get vehicles from one side.
Heads Up Games.
It's developed by Clockstone, published by Head Up Games.
Okay, so Clockstone and Heads Up. Yeah. So they
Head Up, singular.
Head Up. Okay. Clockstone and Head Up. Bridge Constructor is a game about building very structurally sound bridges. You need to kind of actually have a working knowledge of engineering in some ways to make this game work. And
it's all physics based, isn't it?
It is all physics based, and they've taken this and they've merged it with Portal, which ends up being absolutely hilarious. You are the leader of basically a team of Aperture Science employees whose job is to test bridges for some reason. I mean, why, for the same reason that Aperture Science has a portal device and a potato clock and all kinds of other stuff. But they actually managed to get the original voice of GLaDOS to come back and voice her in this game as well. And I mean, this has tons of stuff. It has companion cubes. It has the turrets. It has everything. And all in this is this very sound puzzle game about building bridges. And if you go over to our YouTube channel, we actually put up a video this week of me playing the 11th test chamber, in which the turrets show up for the first time. And you have to build a bridge so that the test vehicle goes through a portal, comes out, lands on another bridge, and hits a turret from behind to knock it into a laser that causes it to explode, so that the rest of your vehicles can then get to the end of the test chamber. And in all of this, you've got to figure out how to place the different struts and the roadways and all kinds of stuff. The controls are really, really simple and easy to use, easy to manipulate. And so it's definitely one I recommend that if you pick up, if you love Bridge Constructor at all, I've got it on iOS. But if you've played it at all, it does not suffer. You can use touch screen controls or you can use regular controller. But if you're a Portal fan, you know what you're going to get here. It's smartly written. It's funny. GLaDOS is great as usual. Not sure if Wheatley or anyone else shows up later on, but if you're into Portal, it's definitely a cool thing. And it's kind of put me on a Portal kick, I guess, because I bought the Portal table for Pinball FX 3 earlier today, which if you have not played that and you have that game, it's excellent. It's excellent. And so you can run over to the eShop and check that out. It came out Tuesday, February 28th. Also, a surprise game that came to us this week is Membrane from Perfect Hat. And it was developed by a husband and wife team. It was actually, I found this out after I downloaded it. It was like a game of note or it won some award this year at a student-made game festival.
Oh, cool.
And so what it is I really don't understand it because like the opening cinematic is bizarre in a good way. But basically what it is you are a little guy inside this dude's head in his brain, and you are causing things to happen which help him do things. And the way that like it's a puzzle shooter. So a lot of the, like when you start out, you go through the tutorial and it's teaching you, okay, you can jump. All right, well, now that stage is done. Okay, now you can shoot. And when you shoot, your bullets stick to the walls or stick to the ceilings or stick to the floors, and you can make platforms with them and all kinds of other stuff. So they teach you to do that. And then the next one is, okay, well, now you can shoot a different kind of projectile that causes the first projectile that you shot to collapse and become something you can pick up and use again. And so it teaches you how to do all these things, including manipulating what looks like a giant green orange to knock down these green barriers. And it's very surreal and weird and kind of psychedelic and trippy, but it's also really fun. It controls really well. It does have some pretty neat puzzles so far that I've played, and it totally came out of left field. And I'll admit, when we got it, I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And because of that, Mr. Masson, when it came in, you said, this is his quote, "This looks like a Marty game."
Don't be hating.
And at first, when I first looked at it, I was like, what you trying to say, Justin?
What I'm trying to say is that I think you are into unique indie puzzle solving games.
I am. And so you're exactly right. I was taken completely by surprise by this. There's 60 levels in this game, and it looks like a ton of fun. I was helping my son actually solve some of the puzzles earlier today, and it's intuitive enough that a child can play it, but it's hard enough puzzle wise that it's going to keep you coming back for more. It's going to make you sweat a little bit to try to figure things out. So the closest comparison that I can actually give to it, and it's not a great comparison, but it kind of will kind of show you how this game works, is Splasher. So if you've played that, Splasher does have that shooting puzzle element, right? That you've got to, but Splasher is a little more frenetic. It's a little more hectic. You have to constantly be moving and be very precise. Membrane gives you time to think. And so, again, we made a video of this over on YouTube, so you can go check it out. It's actually me sitting down and playing it the very first time, like booting it up for the very first time. And so you get to see a few of those tutorial levels and things like that. So go check that out. It's on the eShop right now. I think it's like $9.99. So it's not a huge cost. So, but you're supporting some really it's a really cool cause to support devs that aren't, they're indie, but like I feel like these devs are like really indie. You know what I mean? Like they're students, or were students when this game was made. And then one final game that I downloaded today is from our friends at Atui. I downloaded Totes the Goat, the Switch version. I had this on my phone, but I wanted, like, I just like this game. I really like Totes the Goat, and Jules had said, there was going to be some differences between it and the mobile game. And the most notable of those is in the mobile game, if you play it, you're able to collect coins, but you get a free bonus, every now and then, like every 5 hours or so, it'll give you bonus coins to keep you coming back so you can buy characters. You don't get the bonus in the Switch version, but you do get lives. And so, whereas before, it's like a one and done on your run, this time it's like you get 3 lives to go as far as you can. And then there are some new characters that he has included, like Chicken Wiggle and Zeo Drifter and the kid and his grandma or grandpa from Mutant Muds. And the characters that are Atui characters will give you extra coins when you play as those. So they're like double the amount of coins. So it's actually easier to unlock some things. And it's Totes the Goat. If you've played Totes the Goat on iOS or Android, you know what you're getting here, except the control scheme is controlled with the control pad instead of you swiping. I guess you can still swipe. I just didn't try it. It feels better to me to use the control pad. And it's good fun. I think it's like $5 on the eShop, so you really can't go wrong with it. And Jules is good. I mean, he's got other stuff coming out, Soccer Slammers and other stuff coming out this year. I always like supporting him. He's a good friend of the show, and yeah, Totes the Goat. It's Totes the Goat.
Beautiful. I like it.
All right, guys, you want to dive into the mailbag real quick?
Yeah, let's maybe grab a couple out of there.
Yeah, let's do that.
Do it. My soundboard doesn't work, so.
Well, it's okay.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, never done that. People
thanks for everybody who sent in mail. We've had an overwhelming response to the show this week. So we're just going to pick up a couple of these. We actually, guys, I'll tell you this, we have like 7 emails to get through. And so if you don't hear your letter this week, understand we'll get to it in a couple of weeks, here on the show. But there's a couple here that I wanted to highlight. This one is from Sean Ashton from the UK, and he says this, and Justin alluded to this a little bit earlier about some of our 3DS talk. He said, I have listened to your comments concerning the 3DS with interest over the last couple of episodes. I, too, have found myself conflicted over its future. I've been a huge DS fan since early 2006 when I picked up an imported turquoise DS Lite following their launch in early 2006. I hate to think of the number of different models I have owned over the years. Whilst the PSP and in its early life the Vita were trying to emulate console experiences, the DS and 3DS were able to produce games that were truly unique. In that sense, I wonder if the relatively low power in comparison to Sony's counterparts forced some developers to think outside the box. I have very fond memories of the Layton and Ace Attorney series and other games such as Ghost Trick, Elite Beat Agents, Trauma Center, Luigi's Mansion 2, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, Bowser's Inside Story, and many, many more. I'm not prepared to see the 3DS confined to history, yet at the same time, I wonder now if any future offerings are better served being released on the Switch, a la Samus Returns. I still pick up my 3DS every so often, but my Switch is my go-to console now. I wondered if you have similar feelings regarding Nintendo's clamshell and what you might like to see come over to the Switch, be it games or features of the operating system. And finally, just to say, you guys are fantastic. I listen and look forward to your podcast every week, and I look forward to more of the same. All the best.
Aww.
So, thanks, Sean. We appreciate that, those kind words. So his question is, any unique games that you remember on the 3DS and DS that you just really loved or know that you're going to miss, as maybe it rides off into the sunset, and any games you'd like to see come over to the Switch?
One of the things that it has me thinking of is, like, I don't mind, I guess, if the 3DS if the 3DS continues to get games, as long as it can justify being on the 3DS instead of the Switch, right? Like I think the whole thing of the two screens on the DS especially, like that really, especially because on the DS, and I'm talking the DS, not the 3DS at this point, when that came out, the two screens were essentially identical, other than one was a touch screen, right? Like the resolution was roughly the same, shape was the same.
They were they were exactly the same.
Yeah, and so and like basically, and so like they had all sorts of cool things that they did with that, right? Like they did the sort of like, I want to call it like the storybook sort of mode where you would hold it sideways, and you would do something like Brain Age that way. They just did a lot of playing between the two screens, and then when the 3DS came along, they almost kind of like, because the top screen was 3D, the top screen just inherently became the primary screen, right? Whereas a lot of games on the DS, where the bottom screen was the primary one, like I'm thinking Zelda, the two Zelda games on the DS, the primary screen was the bottom screen because you were controlling Link by tapping the stylus, right? Like I feel like that actually the DS or the 3DS kind of lost that cool factor of like why the DS, like what set the DS apart was specifically because the two screens were seamless. Like they were very inherently connected. And so like I remember, like as far as like games from the DS, one of my favorites, or two of them, I guess, one of them is coming to the Switch, which is The World Ends With You. The entire combat system was based on the fact that you would swipe on the bottom screen in order to do the combat. And then later on as well, actually it wasn't that much later, was Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars was a pretty fun game as well. I don't know, like I guess for me, what's sad to me is the idea of the two screens going away, and the idea of having a touch screen interface that you can 100% design for. That's a little sad that we're going to lose that, because we are going to lose it. It's just a fact at this point, right? Like we're losing that unless Nintendo comes out and creates another system that does this, which I don't think they want to do, and I don't think other people want them to do it either. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Did I even
about the two screen thing? I mean, there's going to be, we've talked a lot about the 3DS over the last few weeks. I think that there's going to be a lot of games that are good, very good games, that we lose. Whether it's, if they're maintained through a virtual console somehow or whatever, if Nintendo does proceed with just one device here in the near future, there's going to be a lot of games that kind of get lost to history.
Yeah,
it's kind of. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, have you played a DS game on the Wii U Virtual Console? Because that is hot garbage.
Yeah, it's rough.
That is not the solution that we want for that.
Exactly. And here's the thing: it's kind of like GameCube games right now, right? GameCube games are kind of lost to history until they figure out something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know exactly where we go next or what we do. With that, because I don't know. Does Nintendo make another handheld? Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, I don't where they would go with that, but.
Well, if Nintendo comes out with like a legit Tate grip, like the one that I showed off a few weeks ago that I 3D printed, you could play DS games on the Switch relatively easily vertically.
Yeah, they could do that.
There's plenty of real estate, and they can cut the screen in half to be the two screens, so that you can still do certain things. In fact, you'd have touchscreen on both, so you can do more than you could on the DS. One thing that you would lose in that was used in puzzle elements, like with the first Layton game, and with I think Spirit Tracks or Phantom Hourglass, one of the two, is actually closing the system's clamshell as the puzzle element. So when you open it up and like those, you had a stamp on the top and an empty piece of paper on the bottom. You closed it and opened it up, and then now you have an inverted imprint on the bottom, like you actually stamped it.
Mm-hmm.
So
which
you won't be
essentially
able to
what
do
they were
puzzles like that anymore.
Well, I mean, if you play a DS game like that on the 2DS, in order to complete those puzzles, what you have to do is flip the little sleep switch on the bottom right hand corner of it.
Yeah, they have a sleep mode switch to simulate it, but it just doesn't have the same effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in a Switch that there are no clamshell switches, no developer will create a puzzle like that.
Yeah.
In a new game.
Absolutely. Let's hit one more question right here. This is from James M. He says, "Hi Nintendo Dads, when Smash Brothers returns, do you think Amiibo support will also return? If so, what type of support would you hope for? Do you think if fighters are added to the roster, that new Smash Amiibo will sell well?"
Oh, I actually thought about this. I saw this email come in earlier in the week. I wonder because there is no way they re-release that entire line. There's no way, right? Like I can see them re-releasing some of them, or maybe some of the new characters and re-releasing some of the older ones, but not all of them.
Yeah,
I know that
your Mario, your Link, some of the big hitters.
Exactly. I know that I kind of come back to this a lot, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did a card line at that point, just to be able to get people very quickly all of the different characters.
I like that idea.
I think that would be a really smart idea. At the same time, they could sell a bajillion Amiibo, or maybe they do. Because I think the big issue that I see here, like the big problem that needs to be solved, is the number of characters that they could put out, or that I guess they would need to put out in order to be able to show, or to get all of the ones to people that want them. So I think they need a smaller way of doing that. So whether that's a card line or a like what are those little gotcha? What were the ones? What was the game on the Wii U that had? It was before Amiibo came out. The Pokemon game.
Pokemon Rumble.
Yeah, Pokemon Rumble, right? Like maybe smaller versions of the characters, so that they could sell in smaller packages.
I forgot about Rumble.
So like maybe that's another possibility. But I think the cards would be. At least that's what I would prefer them to do. I don't know if they'd actually do that though.
Well, it'd probably be cheaper for them to do the cards versus other methods as well.
Yeah, that's true.
They have the technology already.
Mm-hmm. We have the power. Yeah, for sure.
That's right. Well, guys, that's been a pretty hefty show for tonight, celebrating Switch's 1-year anniversary, and we're looking forward to more. Justin, what are some things that people need to be looking out for here in the future from us?
Yeah, so we got a couple things to kind of announce that we're going to be doing. So first and foremost, guys, Retro Rewind. If you haven't, we haven't recorded the episode yet, but so if you're still playing, feel free to keep playing Final Fantasy 3 or Final Fantasy 6. A couple of things to make you aware of. Next week, Alexandria from Zoink Games will be joining us to talk about Faye, Flipping Death, perhaps emergence of Thunderful Games, and everything awesome from Zoink. So we're excited to have her. And we have another announcement that is on the horizon. I want to wait until it's tightened up for sure before we say anything officially. We've got some DMs going on. But we've got lots of really cool guests coming on the show very soon, and we're excited to do it. Guys, I would also say this is a really cool thing. We, as I mentioned in the earlier show, have started a creators community on Patreon for people who are Patreon subscribers, and they're helping us create more and more amazing content. So you're going to see more content coming out on both written reviews on VG Tribune. You're going to see a lot more video reviews. You're going to see a lot more content. And as a matter of fact, the first one's actually come up this week, actually today, Friday. Our good friend Nick, who's what part of our community, has reviewed Twin Robots. And that review will be coming out on our YouTube channel. So head over to youtube.com/NintendoDads. Subscribe. We have got a great amount of content going on there of gameplay as well. So check that out, guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as always, you can find us over at Twitter at Nintendo Dads. You can find us on Facebook at Nintendo Dads. You can find us on Instagram. Basically, all of our social media is just our name on YouTube and Twitch. Or you could call in every week and leave a voice message at 92925-NDADS. Or for those of you who can't figure out letters and numbers like me, that's 929-256-3237. And if you want to buy some sweet Nintendo Dads merchandise, you can go over to tiny.cc/Nintendo Dads store. All of that's lowercase. We want to thank OC Remix for the music all throughout the show. And we want to thank Carter Johnson and Adam Leonard for our cool art that we use all the time. And so for me, for Justin, for Zach, and for Jesse, this has been episode 169 of the Nintendo Dads. Bye-bye.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.